Long before the sun's first golden rays glinted on the waters of Oshimele, the boy who would become Paul Asa had already earned his name. Born to a humble family of fishmongers in the riverside village of Humans, he was frail at first, but elders whispered that the spirits themselves watched over him. When other toddlers stuttered, Paul leapt. When other children cried at thunder, he smiled. By the time he was 10, he could outlift grown men and swim through rapids with the ease of a crocodile. He trained under his father, Namdi, learning every secret of net-making and canoe carving. But he showed an uncanny awareness of the unseen world. Sometimes, when he fished at moonrise, he'd pause, head tilted, and whisper words no one else could hear. Villagers swore he spoke to the river Oimalai, like one brother to another. When he was strong enough, the village chief anointed him Odogwu, the warrior hero, not for war against human foes, but for battles against hunger, drought, and the mysteries lurking beneath the silent depths. By 20, his biceps rode like hills, and his chest rose broad as a barn roof. Fishermen queued to partner with him, young wives swore no other man could provide like Odogwu. And Paul embraced this responsibility. Each morning, at the amber glow before dawn, he stepped barefoot into the sand, spoke his greeting to the river, and offered Fanta, the crimson soda, and cola nuts, cracked and fragrant, to the land spirits and the marine folk. Oimelai noenwi obi yuto, he would murmur, may the river rejoice, and cast his net with the faith of a man whose life depended on more than skill, ritual and reward. Each day followed a sacred rhythm. Paul rose at 4 a.m., donned his oilcloth trousers, and threaded his hair into tight braids. His canoe, freshly caulked and painted with white and red stripes, waited by the bank. Before launching, he knelt, sprinkled a few cola fragments on the ground, and poured Fanta into the river's gentle curve. Sometimes, when the river's surface shimmered unnaturally silver, he whispered longer prayers, inviting his ancestors to join him. Once afloat, he paddled past mats of water hyacinths and driftwood, heading for his favorite fishing grounds, an eddy where currents from Oshimele's heart met tributaries from Niger. Here, schools of tilapia, catfish, and the prized mora fish gathered. He cast his net with effortless grace, the circle plucked up fish shimmering like starlight. By mid-morning, he returned with baskets so heavy that bystanders gasped. Children carried them on their heads, wives distributed fish from yard to yard. Paul would smile and say, "It is the river's gift, not mine." Word of his bounty spread beyond Humans to Nzam and Onitsha. Traders traveled far to buy from Odogwu. The village prospered, children went to school, elders ate well, and the harvest fields drank from stored water. Yet no matter how famous, Paul remained humble. He knew that every silver fish, every full granary, sprung from forces he barely understood, and that pride before spirits invited calamity. The first warning. One scorching afternoon in late Harmattan, the sky baked pale blue and Oshimele whispered under still air. Paul loaded his nets, cracked cola, poured Fanta, and glided out. He cast once, brimful. Twice, brimful. Then, near the sun's zenith, the current shifted. He cast a third time deeper into the river's middle, the net sank with unusual speed, and when he tugged, the weight was wrong. Not fish, but something stubborn. He strained until veins popped on his forehead, but the net would not budge. Panic fluttered in his chest. He stared at the water's glassy skin. Then, a low hum rose, like wind through metal sheets. Paul's breath caught below, his net snagged on something hard and vast. He shook the rope, the humming climbed into a roar. Suddenly, the water spiraled, twisting into a whirling vortex. The canoe shuddered. From the depths, she arose, half woman, half fish, gleaming aquamarine scales along her hips, hair streaming like seaweed. Her eyes were lanterns of emerald fire. "Paul Asa," she intoned, voice like thunder softened by waves, "you tread beyond your right. Your nets break our palace's roof. Go no further, or face the wrath of the Mariah." Before Paul could speak, the vortex collapsed. The net slipped free. The mermaid dove beneath, leaving silent repose. Paul sat trembling. He returned to shore wordlessly, slamming his canoe into the sand. Villagers clustered around, he babbled a rush of words. They stared, skeptical. Only old Dibia Ogbonna, the chief priest, nodded gravely. The water speaks through him. We must heed this warning. Doubt and defiance. Despite the priest's counsel, most villagers brushed the tale aside. Mermaids belong to stories, scoffed is the blacksmith. Paul fished too deep and scared piranhas. Women whispered that Paul was making excuses for a poor catch. Merchants grumbled at lost income. Only a handful, a dozen souls, believed the Odogwu's warning, and they kept to the river's shallows. Paul, though shaken, also felt anger simmer. How could an unseen force condemn him for earning his living? The next day he went lakeside at dawn, performed his ritual, and fished, but the river felt empty. Not a single tug. Hours slipped by. On the brink of dusk he had one tilapia to show. Disappointed, he recalled the mermaid's words. He admitted to himself, maybe they'd driven the fish away. Still, livelihood pressed. Without fish, villagers starved. No matter the danger, Paul resolved, I will provide. He set off early the following morning, though Dibia forbade him. Only fool ignores a spirit's warning, the priest warned. The second warning. On the third dawn after the mermaid's appearance, Paul pushed his canoe past Mbu Creek, seeking new waters. He cast twice, 2 baskets brimming. Hope sang in his chest. On the third, his net snagged again, but this time with twice the force. The water roared violently, dragging his canoe. Paul's muscles burned as he fought the rope, but the current was stronger. Suddenly, the canoe split along its keel, snapping in two like a broken reed. Paul plunged into the river, net and canoe fragments tangling around him. He kicked upward. 2 mermaids rose, faces stern as granite. You again, Odogwu, they chorused, we warned you. You shatter our halls, you defile our realm. This is your final warning. Their voices mingled, and the current hurled Paul toward the bank. He swam like a man possessed. When his boots scraped sand, the mermaids vanished. He collapsed near the reeds, soaked and shivering. His battered canoe lay in pieces. He staggered home on legs made of jelly, hands clawed by rope burns. Villagers rushed to help, but he only demanded silence. That night, sleepless, he paced, replaying their words, final warning. Was this fate? Could he cast nets again? Yet hunger gnawed at every mouth. The breaking point. For 2 weeks, Paul stayed ashore. Each dawn, he watched other fishermen fling nets and carry fish. Shame and envy warred in him. One morning, hearing the wails of his ailing mother for rich soup, he clenched his fist. I cannot let fear starve my people, he whispered. With trembling resolve, he repaired a new canoe, carved steadier than before, and blessed it thrice. He performed a grander ritual, offering roasted goat, slices of kola, palm wine, and 2 bottles of Fanta, for both land and water spirits. He sang ancestral songs, raised his voice until it cracked, and called upon river spirits for mercy. Then, with the priest's half-hearted blessing, he set out. The sky was mottled with clouds, a breeze ruffled the water. Everything felt ominous yet right. He paddled to the deep eddy and cast once, bundles of fish came up. Twice, bundles more. Pride swelled. On the third cast, as net sank, the humming began immediately louder than before. He realized, too late, that his offering had not appeased them. The water spun, the river ate his canoe and him in a single motion. All fell silent. Vanishing of the Odogwu. He never returned. Villagers scoured the banks for days. Dibia Ogbonna led ceremonies, throwing kola and Fanta, chanting to coax mermaids to return their husband. They dangled goats above the water's surface, smoked cowhide in smoky plumes, but the river offered only whispers. No canoe scraps, no body, no nets, only the hush of murmurings. Rumors spread, some said Paul had been swallowed by the river monster, others whispered the mermaids had claimed him as sacrifice to their queen. Children dared one another to approach the water at night, swearing they heard Paul's voice calling from beneath. A few claimed to glimpse an anguished face, green-tinged, peering from deep undercurrents. The chief priest declared a 40-day fast, but after 6 days, half the villagers broke their vow for fear of famine. Years passed. Other fishermen avoided the eddy. Yams rotted unharvested, the wide nets stayed folded. Human's prosperity sank, markets closed by noon, and children sold kola to traders from distant towns to buy dried fish from across the state. The only ones still near the water at dawn were Dibia Ogbonna and the village scribe, Okeke, who recorded the tragedy in spiraling script. Legend and legacy. Today, the story of Paul Asa is told around evening fires. Elders speak of him as a hero who defied the unseen world to feed his people. They speak of mermaids, creatures not of fable but of flesh and song, who guard their watery dominion jealously. They teach that ambition must be balanced by reverence for forces beyond human ken. Some nights, when the harmattan haze drapes the river, fishermen say they see ghost lights dancing on the waves, two emerald glints, meeting and parting, as if mermaids still watch. They say that if you listen, you might hear a plaintive call, Odogwu. Odogwu, return. And so Paul's name endures. In homes, children cling to tales of his bravery, women hang kola necklaces as protection, men avoid the eddy where mermaids reign. Yet deep in humans, a small shrine stands at the riverbank, kola shells strewn, Fanta bottles cracked, dried fish offerings left each morning. It is the shrine of Paul Asa, where Dibia Ogbonna tends an eternal flame, waiting for the day the Odogwu returns, or for the river to rest. Thus ends the tale, though some whisper a final chapter yet unwritten, that on a moonlit night, Paul Asa may rise from the depths, stronger than ever, his voice echoing through the river mouths, ready to claim his place between land and sea once more. Until then, the waters keep their secrets, and the villagers of Humans remember the strongest man they ever knew, lost to the mermaid queen and the kingdom beneath the waves. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share for more meaningful tales.